go ahead and kick things off here. So, welcome to From Classroom to Boardroom, Developing Business-Ready AI Talent, presented by our partner, Appalachian State University. Today's webinar will highlight how the Walker College of Business at Appalachian State University develops business-ready AI talent through applied curriculum design, experiential learning, and industry-aligned competencies. BGS members can learn more about Appalachian State University and their application fee and GMAT GRE waivers by visiting the landing page on our website. It's my pleasure to introduce our panel for today. This group has a variety of backgrounds, ranging from marketing to data analysis to career coaching and beyond. They are Jason Jung, Neil Das, Ed Hassler, Seeley Burt, and Michelle Brown. So please join me in welcoming today's panel.
Thank you so much, Matt. Welcome, everyone. So glad that you joined us today. Again, I'm Seeley Burt, and I'm going to be the moderator for the panel today. So AI is transforming how organizations operate, innovate, and make decisions. As you can see here, McKinsey Global Institute estimates AI could help create 20 to 50 million new jobs by 2030. Business leaders who understand how to harness AI's potential ethically and strategically will be in extraordinary demand across every sector of the global economy. At App State, our mission is to develop ethical, agile, and industry-ready business professionals. The Walker College of Business has taken a forward-thinking approach to AI by embedding it across our curriculum. And you can see some of our AI portfolio programs and offerings that we have. Today you'll hear examples from our AI graduate certificate, our AI concentrations across graduate programs, and key undergraduate AI offerings and integrations. We'll highlight course design, hands-on projects, and governance and ethics considerations showing how students translate AI knowledge from the classroom to the boardroom. In the spirit of full transparency, and to demonstrate that we really do practice what we preach, I should mention that parts of today's moderator script were drafted with the help of AI. We're embracing these tools thoughtfully and responsibly, just as we encourage our students to do. So before we begin the panel, let me tell you a little bit about Appalachian State. We are a public university founded in 1899. There are over 21,000 students across our campuses. We are R2 designation university according to the Carnegie classification system, which means we are designated as a high research activity institution. And our business programs have consistently been ranked among the best in news outlets and rankings organizations such as US News and World Report, CEO Magazine, Fortune, and others. We are part of the University of North Carolina system, which is comprised of 17 institutions across the state. App State is located in Boone, North Carolina. That is our main campus. We also have a campus in Hickory, North Carolina, which is strategically positioned between Boone and Charlotte, North Carolina's financial hub and one of the major banking centers in the U.S. We have a growing portfolio of programs in Hickory, with the bulk of our programming offered in Boone or online. Just a little bit about Boone. We are nestled in the Blue Ridge Mountains. We are deeply connected to the natural environment and have rich ecological resources in the region. The town and the university have a long tradition of environmental stewardship, protecting mountain ecosystems, to championing renewable energy and sustainable development. Boone is a great place to live and to study. We have 4 amazing seasons. This time of the year, we're not quite sure if it's winter or spring yet. We kind of flip back and forth, but we have a quaint small town feel, and it's a great place to continue education if you are able to do so. So that will pull us into the panel today. Thank you, Matt. You've already introduced everyone, so let me just dive in, and I will stop sharing the slides. And let's just start to set the stage with a broad question for each of our panelists. So how is AI transforming your field right now, and what should students understand about that shift as they prepare for their careers? Please jump in.
I'll start us off. So I'm Ed Hassler, the program director for the Applied Data Analytics program here. And in the analytics side and in computer kind of in general, what I've been seeing is it's more in the introductory jobs. So the first jobs, a lot of times that you come out when you go into industry, things like data collection, a lot of the grunt work, so to say, that tends to be an easy target for AI. And that is one of the things that you have to think about now. So coming out of a program, what is that program going to do to help you leapfrog those first couple of years of requirements? Because if you look at job ads, they're saying they want 2 or 3 years worth of experience. How do you get that if you just graduated from college, And how is your program providing that? We try to overcome that with things like internships, with the AI project classes and so forth. And those really help students set up to leapfrog past that so that you're using AI to accelerate and not just using it as a crutch.
Thank you, Dr. Hassler.
I'll go next. Thank you, Dr. Hassler, and thank you, BGS, for organizing this session. And welcome, everyone. This is great meeting you, albeit virtually. One of the things that I would mention, and I think Dr. Hassler, he kind of alluded to that, please note that now AI is not a differentiating factor for you. Okay, it is something that you have to have. Okay, it is almost a complementary skill. So when it first came out, and AI has been around, as you probably know, has been around for quite a while. I mean, it might not have been given the term AI, but it has been around for quite a while. People have been using it in various different ways. But now that we've coined this term, and now that we realize that, okay, there are a lot of things that we used to do in a more time-consuming manner, and we can do it more efficiently now. So that's the biggest thing that you have to understand when I'm looking at Ms. Burt's question. What should students understand about the shift? The biggest shift, it is not a differentiating factor. And I know I'm repeating myself. Please keep that in mind. So if you are an undergraduate student, for example, one of the things that you can probably, at least investigate and start doing as soon as you can is get different AI certification as available. I can tell you in terms of my area, marketing, everything is happening so fast every day. Okay, it is very difficult to keep up. So whether you're in sales, whether you're in advertising, whether you are in digital marketing or what have you, okay, gone are the days when you had people come up with jobs with titles like SEOs. Those days are gone almost. Okay, and now instead of SEOs, search engine optimizers, you have LLMs. Okay, large language model optimizers. So that's how the shift is happening. And that's something that people are expected, or you are expected that you would know. So again, it's a complement, not a differentiating factor.
Thank you. Michelle, can you chime in?
Yes, absolutely. I am on the career development side as a career coach. So my perspective comes from helping students be prepared to make sure their materials are applicant tracking system compatible, and also able to present themselves in a way that is both authentic, but also meets the criteria that they're searching for and scanning for as part of applicant tracking systems. I also help prepare students for virtual practice interviews, and that may or may not be with a human on the other side. And I help them put together both their application materials, but also how to present themselves in a way. If they are interviewing with a system that's automated, what would that system be looking for? And how do they get through kind of those walls to get to the part where they're interacting with the human. So my goal is to help them present themselves in a way that represents true to who they are, but also that matches the patterns and the keywords and the themes of the jobs or internships that they're applying for. The other piece that's changing is the mass or quick apply that we see on LinkedIn, where you can just click a button and mass apply to 100 plus jobs and then feel like you're kind of done, right? It's easy and we like easy right now, but you're not being active participant in the job search when you approach it.
We are having a little bit of a technical difficulty. Michelle, I think you are frozen, so let me just pass it on to Dr. Zhang.
Okay, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Jason Shom. I'm the Associate Dean from Walker College of Business. To answer the question how AI is transforming business, I think AI is changing business in a very fundamental way. It's not just making things faster, right? It's changing how the work gonna gets done and what skills matters the most. So there are three highlights that and shifts I wanted to talk about. First is from AI is transforming from doing the work to directing the work. So think about AI can handle many of the tasks that used to define early career roles, analysis, reporting, even drafting recommendations. But that doesn't mean opportunity is shrinking. It means expectations will be rising for those of you who are at earlier careers. Second is from learning tools to building the capabilities. So a common misconception is that success in the environment is about learning AI tools. But tools will change constantly, right? Every day, every week, we are learning some new AI tools. But what matters more is developing durable capabilities. For earlier career professionals, think about how to ask the right questions, how to interpret AIs, and challenge AI generated outputs. The last point I have is AI is now part of the major business decisions, including hiring, marketing, operations, you name it. So that brings the real responsibilities is the AI model biased? Can we explain the decision? Or should we automate this at all? So I think the next generation of business leaders will have to be able to balance the innovation with responsibilities. So what this means for you as a prospective graduate students or current graduate students is your goal should not be just to learn business. Your goal should be become someone who can work effectively with the AI system. So to conclude, I think the question is no longer whether AI will be part of your career. It will be. The real question is whether you can be someone who simply use AI or someone who leads in AI-enabled world. That's the difference we aim to develop in our graduate programs.
Thank you, Dr. Zhang. If I can ask you again along those lines, can you tell us about what practical tools, AI tools, frameworks, or system level applications you are integrating into courses you teach to help students build those job ready skills?
Okay, thank you so much for the question. So I mainly teach the quantitative methods and AI applications into the quantitative methods class. There are several tools that I use and I encourage our students to use in general. First set of I'll group them into three layers. So the first part is some practical AI tools, hands-on job-ready skills that I expect our graduate students will know. One is some generative AI platforms, Microsoft Copilot, ChatGPT, you name it. Second is some of the analytics environment like Python, some visualization tools, Tableau, Power BI. And the third is some low coding or no coding AI tools for workflow automation. I think that is needed for students who either have a technical background or don't have a technical background. In terms of the framework, um, I introduce an AI governance and risk frameworks to our students, includes AI related bias and accountability that I wanted to give the students a general idea that AI is not a black box, it is part of a managed decision system. And then finally, some system level applications uh, that I teach our students is we have some group project within the course I'm teaching, and I strongly encourage our students to use some AI assisted tools to do some test, predictive analytics, and some decision supported related integrations into the course.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Zhang. Dr. Hassler, as program director for our Masters of Science in Applied Data Analytics, your students are working directly with models, pipelines, and real-world data sets. For you, what emerging AI techniques or modeling approaches are becoming essential for analysts, and how do you incorporate them into your hands-on projects?
The new techniques really coming out, like with the large language models and so forth. I mean, those are an interesting thing. They're very technical. We don't go too much into the building side of that. But you do need to understand what that model is and how it works. I mean, it's a predictive model. And it's text analytics, at its peak right now in this point in our history. So it's important to understand things like that, but it's also important to understand the myriad of other methodologies and techniques there are. A lot of people today, when you say AI, they just think of like ChatGPT and Grok and, the AI engines, right? But there's a whole host of stuff behind that. We have been doing this for many years. Things like support vector machines, neural networks, are another big one. Neural networks are great because they allow you to model interactions that we as humans really can't even begin to comprehend. How do you think about and model a 15-way interaction? That's really hard to do in a stats class, but in a neural network, it becomes more natural. So all of these techniques really come together as our current AI. And I think it's important to know or have an idea of all of the variety of techniques and things that are out there. You need to know some of the things from economics with time series and how that works, how forecasting works. Those are good in certain situations. In other things, something like a ChatGPT model will work for you. You may need a more technical model, though, that incorporates logic as well as mathematical modeling, for something like peak power prediction. These are all a wide variety of things, and it's really about having a good base of techniques and understanding of what's going on when you do modeling. Additive modeling is a simple idea, but we carry it over into a lot of different fields. And then, how you chain these things together and what it means. And then working with real data. Data is messy. It's not always the perfect little examples that we give you in a classroom to illustrate a point. So what happens when it gets messy? What happens when it's not quite normal? These are the kind of things that I think are really important today. And with going along with what Dr. Zhang said, AI has really just put its foot on the gas. I mean, everything happens and changes so fast. And you really need to be able to use AI to keep up with that, to accelerate your workflow. I like to tell my students, if you have two students and they both are technically superior, they're really good with methodology, they have deep understanding of models and everything else, and one knows how to use AI when he works and the other doesn't, the one that's going to get the job is the one that knows how to use AI. So it's really about using it to accelerate, but you still need the base understanding, because at the end in analytics, you need to be able to explain it and convey to, the CEO or whoever the decision maker is, or even yourself. You need to be able to convey what this means, what the analysis shows you. And, as anybody that's taken a statistics class knows, that can be interpreted. You can manipulate that a little bit. But you don't want to do things like that. And that's where that core human understanding comes in. So it's really about accelerating yourself with AI and still having that human factor, that human touch in there that makes the difference in the decision making.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Hassler. Michelle, I'm going to toss it to you while your internet connection is good. Hopefully it'll hold. So you're seeing firsthand how AI is reshaping the job market. And you mentioned this a little bit in your earlier introduction, but how are employers using AI in recruitment and candidate evaluation, and what does that mean for how students present themselves?
Sure, absolutely. And I apologize for my video being off, but sometimes that can help the connection. So for one way that students are being evaluated through AI is through applicant tracking systems. And that does not necessarily replace a human interaction, but what that would do is streamline and scale the number of applicants. So if you are doing quick apply or mass apply, or applying to probably a medium size company to a larger company, it's likely going through some type of applicant tracking system. And what they're scanning for would be experience, skills, or education. And you want your resume to have a very clean format that can be easily scanned. And so what's really popular now is to use ChatGPT to almost write your resume for you, or put a job posting into ChatGPT and ask, what should my resume look like? What should I include? And that can be fine to find key themes or keywords that you want to make sure you include in your resume, but you certainly don't want it to write it for you, because at some point that resume will reach a human, and you want it to be authentic, but also meet the requirements in terms of the keywords and the qualifications that the scanning system might be looking for. So what some employers are reporting is that resumes are starting to all look the same because of the process of asking ChatGPT or Copilot, how should my resume look? What should I include? And then copying and pasting that directly into your resume. I definitely don't recommend that, but I do recommend using it to determine what the qualifications are, key qualifications and skills are that are required and may be scanned as part of the applicant tracking system. The other way recruiters are using this would be through something called HireVue, and that's an interviewing system. And you may have gone through something like that where you're interviewing and being recorded, but there's nobody on the other side. I personally find that very hard to do, but if you've gone through that, my sympathies are with you. But what that is doing is it's a scaling process that is scaling down a large pool of potential applicants, but who will also then potentially reach the recruiter if you make it through that system. So I think AI in the recruiting process, it's not replacing the human or the recruiters, but it is scaling when there's a large volume of applicants to be reviewed. In the HireVue example, where it's an interviewing software, what that would be scanning for would be the key qualifications, communication skills, Sometimes the systems can detect your tone and your intonation and your enthusiasm. So all of those kinds of characteristics become important when you are being recorded. Same thing with virtual interviews. Those are certainly a very popular screening tool. And that's important as well if you are on video to remember all of those things as well when you're with a human too. And so we prepare students in the business career services as part of the Walker College of Business by doing practice interviews. We have different platforms. One is called Quincia, and it ensures students' resumes are compatible with applicant tracking system. We also use a system called Big Interview that lets students practice virtual interviewing, recording responses, and it actually will rank their responses, how well they do, filler words, in different categories to make sure they're prepared for their interviews.
Thank you. And
Thank
that
you.
kind of, oh, go ahead.
Oh, I just said thank you.
Okay. That kind of segues into the marketing sphere because recent or job searchers are marketing themselves, but backing it up a little bit to Dr. Das. So marketing has rapidly adopted AI for personalization, content generation, and customer insights. So how would you say AI is reshaping those segments: customer segmentation, personalization, and campaign optimization?
Okay. And you're right that what Michelle mentioned, it has a segue to what I'm going to say. So one of the things that Michelle mentioned was, how you can use different AI platforms to reshape and modify uh, your resume. But at the end of the day, then all the resumes kind of tend to look the same. So the point that I'm trying to make is that at least in marketing, and from the context specifically within marketing, I teach a class called Branding in the Realm of AI. So the point that I'm trying to make is that there are certain things that we used to do before AI, and now we are doing the same things, but we are doing it more efficiently and effectively. So going back to resumes looking the same, we have a marketing principle that used to do the same thing called mass customization. Okay, you can probably, if you're a marketer, you already probably know what mass customization is. But if not, if you think about the two words, they are kind of an oxymoron, mass customization. But it was started by Dell, Dell computers, and then it kind of developed into everything else, like from cars to candies and so on and so forth, till a certain point where it was not a differentiating factor. But now, with the help of AI, okay, we are again going back almost to the basics of understanding, like, how do we segment the market? How do we communicate, okay, with our customer? And one example that I would give, and I actually recently learned this example from an MBA student of mine who has been in the workforce for quite a while. So there's a sales AI platform called Gong, and I'm sure there are other similar such platforms. And the whole idea is that when you're making a sales pitch, okay, you're doing it through the platform, you get a real-time update in terms of almost a sentiment analysis. So if, for example, if you are being, as a salesperson, if you're being too aggressive, okay, there would be almost a gauge or a meter that would tell you that, okay, you need to back off a little. Okay, so all of these things, and that's a paid service. Of course, it's not a free service; it's a paid service. But a lot of companies apparently use services like Gong and other such providers. The whole idea or the point that I'm trying to make over here is that from a marketing branding perspective, even when I'm reaching out to a target consumer, even when I'm reaching out communicating to someone on a one-to-one basis or a one-to-many basis, AI has made a humongous difference. So whether I'm using something like Gong, where I get a real-time feedback in terms of how I am interacting with someone, when I know that this window of making you sign on the dotted line is coming up and I can do that, to, for example, the company like Lexus, sometime back in 18 or 19, they created the first ever in the world completely AI generated ad. Okay, and this was done by the European division of Lexus. That is how in marketing, specifically in branding, okay, I am in my class, I'm trying to show that, all right, this is how AI is helping you complement what you already know about the brand. Now, here's one thing that you have to know. How we manage a brand, and again, this is within the context of my class, how we manage a brand, that has not changed. So we still talk about the principles of branding, what you need to do in order to increase the name recognition of your brand, the value of your brand. All of those things are still there, okay? But the way you do it, by using services like Gong, okay, using synthetic data, for example, right? All of that has changed. And you have to know, you have to keep up, and you have to understand how to use that particular service or services or whatever you might be doing in terms of managing your brand.
Great, thank you. Um, do you have, or can you share an example of a hands-on project where students are using AI to solve a pertinent marketing challenge?
Sure, yeah. Yeah, good question. So right now, actually, my one of my assignments that I have in my MBA branding in the realm of AI class is marketing research. And marketing research, and Dr. Zhang mentioned regarding marketing research a little bit. The marketing research that I have instructed my class to do is go and do a qualitative analysis and collect the data, do the interview, create a sentiment analysis, and get a mental map. A mental map, those of you coming from hard science, you already know what a mental map is, okay, where you have the brand, whatever the concept that you're looking at is in the middle, and then you have different associations. All of that would have taken at least, depending on the number of respondents you would be talking to, it would have taken you at least a couple of weeks, if not a couple of months to do. Okay. In my class, we are doing it in less than a month. Now, of course, veracity is a big deal. It is a big, big issue. So how do you verify? And that is where, again, like I said at the very beginning, AI is simply going to complement. So if you let AI drive everything that you do, then that becomes a problem. You have to be the driver, okay? And then you have to take AI as a guide and then tell AI that this is what I want to do. So that is where the veracity comes in. So, for example, if you are a qualitative researcher, okay, interpretation, that's one of the big problems of unstructured data. Okay, how do you interpret what someone is saying? Okay, coming from body language, the way they're saying it, and so on and so forth. If you do not have that expertise, okay, no matter what AI tool you're using, okay, the results you would not be able to confirm or verify. So that is how I'm using it in my class, okay, asking students to, if this were a different class sometime back, they would have done it with, maybe through Zoom or what have you, but now they're doing it on an AI platform. All of these tools are available so that you can immediately understand what is happening and come to a very, very good conclusion in terms of what has really happened.
Thank you. Dr. Hassler, can you tell us a little bit about the classes or class you teach specifically related to AI and how you're implementing hands-on experiences for students in AI?
Sure. We've really started integrating AI across the curriculum, so it's not like it's just one class or two. So, I do have a specific class, AI business applications, that was specifically created for our new AI concentration. That class is more of a survey class to look at, like I was saying earlier, all the different technologies that are out there, how they are being used or employed currently by businesses, what's available, what works where, that kind of a survey class. We take and look at each week, we look at a different technology and application of it. But that's not the end of it. That's not the only thing there. Dr. Zhang, I know, has integrated it into his stats class. It's integrated into a number of the other CIS classes. The programming class that I teach also integrates it. Traditionally, when you're trying to teach somebody to write computer language code, it takes about 300 hours before they begin to even look useful. And with AI, we can accelerate that a bit. So we take the first half and do more of a traditional crash course. And then as we move over into analytics and modeling with things like Pandas and TensorFlow and all of those nice buzzwords you're hearing around a lot of the Google analytics, we begin to use AI. And with that little bit of a background and foundation, the students can accelerate. They know what to ask for, they know how to ask for it, and they can get code that is, you wouldn't be normally seeing from a student until they hit the 1,000-hour mark. That's 1,000 hours sitting on a keyboard hammering at data. So that's just a couple of examples, that we have specifically targeted classes, but we're also integrating it across the curriculum because it's impacting everything.
Thank you. Circling back to Michelle, and perhaps others can chime in as well based on their discipline-specific knowledge, but what AI-related competencies are most in demand across business roles? What are you seeing in job descriptions? Industry professionals, what are they saying they're looking for?
I think the ability to think strategically about AI, how you use AI to solve problems, is a real strong point to emphasize on your resume or in the interview. And I say that because strategic thinking and problem solving nationally is a skill that's sought by employers of upcoming graduates. And also, when we survey our employers at App State, they say the same thing. So I think being able to articulate how you're using AI to solve problems will be really important. And on the other side of that, I also think it's equally important to demonstrate your softer human skills. Because if you have a resume or in the interview, you're strictly focusing on the technical side, that is probably not going to get your foot in the door. You want to have both. You need to have to be able to demonstrate that you can communicate, that you can be adaptable, you can work with a variety of team members that may or may not understand the technical language that you are incorporating into the work that you do. Those would be the ones that I see on job postings. It seems to be an equal balance of the technical and the soft and human skills.
Anyone else have a comment? As a follow-up question, so how will students or should students demonstrate those competencies on the resume and during interviews? How can they?
I can jump on that as well. There are a couple of different ways on the resume that you can demonstrate that. One would be to describe a course project that you are working on or have worked on, and how you worked both within a team or individually or had initiative, but also what you were actually doing with AI. So that can demonstrate the soft skills and the more technical skills. And you could do it through, if you have an internship, if you are in a work setting where you are incorporating AI, and even if it seems like a very simple way that you're using AI, I still think it's worth putting on there as a bullet statement. And then in the interview, the same thing, you would want to describe the courses, the projects, certifications, internship or job experience, and how you've been able to incorporate the use of AI in that.
Thank you.
I would completely agree with what Michelle said too. The class projects and that we do, and like our AI or our analytics project class, it's a semester long full life cycle analytics project. And when you do those types of things, get them on your resume. If nothing else, they're a talking point, but they also allow you to show and demonstrate that you can apply these things, in your internships, in your projects. And when you're fresh out of school, you don't have a lot of background. And this is one of the things that helps you overcome that, 2 to 3 year experience gap that they're looking for. So they can really help differentiate you.
Dr. Zhang, did you have something else to add?
Um, I think there are three things I can think of for our students. One is you will have to know how to communicate with the AI system, write effective prompts, structure the task clearly. Second is you need to be prepared for the interpretation and the decision making, understand the output of AI, and when not to use the output from the AI. And then the last one I can think of is the responsible and the strategic use of the AI tools. Recognize there will be some risks, including bias, privacy, or over automation, and also know that when the human oversight is required. And finally, understand the organizational impact of those AI decisions.
Thank you. So as we wrap up in preparation for the Q&A time, just kind of a forward-thinking question. It may require some predictive speculation, but what AI capabilities do you believe business graduates will be expected to have 5 years from now? And how is App State preparing them for that future? It's kind of a hard question, but I'm confident in our panel.
I think first, student will need to be prepared for AI augmented decision making. And second is the AI enabled workflow and process design or redesign, because in the future, employees won't just use AI; they will be expected to redesign the workflow using the AI. And lastly, I can think of is connected to my previous talking points is the responsible usage of AI, leadership, and the governance.
I can jump in, and that's a very interesting question. And truth be told, I'm not clairvoyant, so I do not know 5 years from now. I don't even know 1 year from now. But I would say one thing, and this is based on a conference that I recently was a part of, and it was an AI-based conference. And one of the things that someone mentioned in the conference, which really got me thinking, was whether AI would become like Excel in a couple of years. And some people have developed extensive Excel skills, and some are advanced beginners, and some are novice. I'm really lesser of a novice than anything else, but it's a skill that you need, and you realize that there are certain areas where Excel would help you do certain things. Okay, even run a simple regression, maybe going back to statistics and what have you we've been talking about. So I would think that if you're asking a question of, and I'm looking at the question right now, will be expected to have 5 years from now? Well, at least at the minimum, you should be expected to know, what the different tools are. And every day there are new tools coming up. You would be expected to know how to use it, where to use it. Okay. And another big thing that Dr. Zhang actually mentioned, and which is very big in marketing, is you have to know that regardless of the tools, whatever they are, however they are, how much of your uh, freedom you're giving up. That is a big thing, especially in marketing, because we deal with consumer data so much. Okay, even when you're coming up with ads or what have you. Okay, there is a constant debate in the minds of managers, as has been evident in recent articles from Harvard Business Review and what have you, that there is this debate as to how much freedom the managers should give up and how much they should retain for themselves. So I think that is what you should be expecting, that you should be developing for the next couple of years as and when AI decides to grow.
Great, thank you. And something Dr. Zhang mentioned that has spurred my interest. I have a background in HR. As you are reimagining workflows, considering AI, you know, you are, leaders are going to be tasked with training potentially change resistant employees, existing employees in these technologies. So that's a huge part of it. It's not all jobs being replaced by AI, but helping the workforce adopt these new technologies for efficiency and productivity. Okay, so I think we are at the time in the webinar for questions. Let's see, Matt, are you going to monitor that? And I believe Gabriella is available to help us as well.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So thank you guys for sharing some questions here. We'll hop into it. But let's see. Our first one here says, how does the panel respond to the idea of the AI bubble is going to pop? Essentially saying that AI funding will end because of minimal returns.
Wow,
I'll,
that's a great question.
yeah, I'll
Yeah.
take a swing at it. I'm looking at this more from a technical perspective. So if you look at what the AI bubble, quote unquote, there has done, we have seen upset and turmoil in the hardware markets because of it. So particularly like consumer graphics cards. If you go on YouTube, you'll find plenty of people ranting about this. And these are the cards that we're using in the AI analytics machines to run large language models to do these large complicated analyses. And it's like shortages right now, and the prices are double or in some case triple for like RAM prices. So in some cases, I hope the AI bubble does break. I think it will eventually, but I don't think it's just like it's a losing proposition like we had a housing market bubble or something. I think what's going to happen is we're going to find AI's place in our lives and our businesses, and then you're going to see it level out. There's still going to be large data centers and all of the hubbub we're hearing about that, about the building of data centers and sustainability. Those are all very live concerns, but they were anyways. As our ability to compute and collect and process data has increased, that was a natural part of it. It's not just AI. So I think that is going to continue to some degree, but I think we'll see it level out a bit as we better understand what AI can do and what it cannot do, and we begin to better integrate it.
Did you have something to add, Jason? Dr. Zhang?
Yeah. So last July, MIT published a very uh, well-known state of AI in business report. Based on that report and based on their survey, 95% of the business of the generative AI pilot at companies are failing. So only 5% of them are profiting. So that actually aligns with that question aligns with the result of the MIT report. Um, I think in the short term, we may see a correction in expectation and investment, but I think in the long term, I think it's truly change. It's going to truly change the way we do business. It's going to impact all the industries.
Okay. I will move on to the next question here. So this one is talking about AI hiring tools, and how bias factors into choosing applicants. Do we have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I can jump on that. I think with what the question was referring to is the video interview, and I think from what I've read, they try to make it just about the content. I think I had mentioned that they did trace for, or they would scan for your tone, or like your facial expressions. It seems like they're focusing less on that and more on the actual content of the questions. I myself have not read a whole lot of research. My understanding is some of the systems try to eliminate bias in the screening process, particularly the applicant tracking system.
Thank you, Michelle. Anybody else have anything else to add? All right, we'll move right along. Next question here says, what type of AI skills are students taught in the MBA AI concentration?
I can start answering that. So at least I'm answering it from the perspective of the class that I teach, like I mentioned, branding in the realm of AI. So my class is more of the application rather than going into the hardware of how an AI tool works and what are the different skill sets that you need to have. So I am one of the things that I try and do in my class is to make students aware of how to use AI for the different skills, let's say in terms of making sure that your brand is recognized by consumers. So previously it used to be done in a different way, and now it is being done again in a very different way. It is very different. And that's one of the things I'm trying to, at least one of the things that I try to present in the class. I'll give you an example. So one of the base or one of the most common ways of searching on the web is doing a Google search. Of course, we all know that. And when you search for something, you have one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, whatever n number of pages. Okay, and consumers uh, most of the time they don't even move more than the first page or the second page at most. Nowadays, and this is from a recent McKinsey report, people, at least 60% of the sample that they found, 60% of the people, they are doing an AI-based search where you are only getting five, maybe products or three products based on the search. So let's say you're saying, what is the best dog collar? And I'm just hypothetically thinking about it because I love dogs. So what is the best dog collar? And they'll give you any platform will give you about 3 to 5 different dog collars. Okay, there's no page two. So the question now is for a brand manager or someone who is managing a brand, how do I ensure that my brand, okay, gets into those five? Because there is no page two, three, four, and five. And that's how it is changing. So that's one of the skills that you have to understand. And this is where I mentioned previously about like LLMO, large language model optimizers. How do you optimize so that whatever the people are searching for, whatever consumers are searching for, it will show up on an AI engine because they're not doing a Google search. So that's one of the things that I do talk about in my class, and I do try and explain as to how to do it.
I'm just sharing, to further answer that question, just a list here on the screen of the graduate courses we have with AI content. Um, not listed there would be the course that Michelle Brown teaches. Unfortunately, it's not listed, but executive skills. So the content related to job search and personal brand and preparing for career.
Thank you guys for the answers here. I'm going to move on to another question. This individual is a university professor. They say that they're struggling with students using AI without really thinking for themselves. How can we design teaching and assessment so that AI supports learning while still developing critical thinking, independent judgment, and business-ready skills?
That is a great question, and one that I think all professors are struggling with to some point. We've actually had a lot of discussion about this here at App State. There has been a chancellor's task force on AI. I personally was on the college's task force for AI, and we have looked at some of these things. Our division, it's the Center of Excellence for Teaching and Learning. They have done a number of seminars and have looked at this problem as well. So what I'm really kind of finding in practice is we are an industry like many others that are looking at how do we integrate AI into our industry and how do we use it. And that brings it down to bringing it into the classroom, and its impact. And the biggest thing that I have found is I have to be more careful with the assignments that I create and the questions that I ask. I have to be ahead of the curve on it, so to speak. So I will ask assignments where I specifically designate you can use AI, or I want you to use AI for this piece, or for this piece, you cannot use the AI. And when I don't want them using it, I have to ask more in-depth interpretive questions. So I kind of have to stack the deck in my favor that the AI won't be able to answer that question. So that they'll have to take a number of pieces, they'll have to put some extra thought into it or put it into a different context and translate to use it. And then that helps take the AI piece out of the mix. But you can't just say never use AI. That doesn't work. So you have to allow for the incorporation of it, realize that they're going to try to use it, and then position the topic and the question such that it really comes down to the human factor and they have to actually ask or answer themselves, what the situation is. I don't know what some of the others may. Neil and Jason are both in the classroom, so they may have a differing opinion on that.
I'll completely agree with what you said in the sense that I'm struggling with it. Yeah. Needless to say, and every time I have to change my assignments, and I have to see what I can do to ensure that they are truly doing the job and not an agent. So I will plead ignorance in this particular domain, and I'll say that I am still struggling with it. There are certain components of, at least in my class, there are certain components like Ed mentioned, making it more intense, making it, in some cases, actually, I make them, part of the assignment is done in class. So, and it's almost a pop surprise quiz where I say, okay, a part of the assignment will be done later, and then they come to the class and say, whoa, this is the later part. This is where you're going to do it now. Okay. So that's what I've been doing. But like I said, I have been struggling. Yes.
I think for me, on the other side of that is helping students articulate on their resume and in an interview in an authentic way what they're learning in the classroom and making that relate to a human or the employer or industry that they're gearing themselves towards, but also staying true to what they actually can do and what they're skilled in, and not what ChatGPT told them that they should be skilled in or what they can do. So it's an interesting balance, and to help students not to sound scripted, and to sound real. It's hard, but also knowing that they do have to be able to talk about the skills and put it on paper, and it likely will get scanned at some point. So it's a balance and a challenge in the work that I do as well.
Anyone else before we move on? Okay. Um, let's see. So outside of the new jobs that are being created by AI in the coming years, is there any worry about a number of jobs that will be taken away from fields?
I think it's going to be like a lot of the other technology revolutions we've experienced in the past. There will be some jobs lost to it. I think it balances out in the end. I saw the same thing in manufacturing back in, what was it, 70s, 80s, right? It was a long time ago. But everybody was worried, oh, robots are coming in. The robots are going to take over the world. We're all going to be out of a job, because of automation. And yeah, robots replaced some line workers, but there were things we found out in time that they just can't replace. And I think AI is going to be kind of like that. We're going to find out that, we're already finding out it's really good at helping you like find data, and do mundane tasks, the data collection piece. You want to scrape a website, like if you wanted to scrape job data off Indeed, they're notorious for constantly changing their site, right? And it used to be if you wanted to do that, basically you needed to find yourself a Russian hacker who could just sit there and work on constantly scraping it. But with AI, now you can go ask AI for code to scrape a site, and you'll get something reasonable out of it. And then with a little bit of work, you can tweak it. So it's getting easier to collect data, and some of those things are being replaced. But other things we're finding it doesn't do well. It doesn't reason things well. It doesn't translate from one context to another, a piece of knowledge real well. So I think those things will still be there, and that's where the new jobs will come in. It used to be before we had robotics and everything, you didn't really have big business automation experts, but like that's a career in itself now. We have professors here that were in supply chain that, their whole career was better automation and how to do process automation. That's a field in itself. And that really came about with the technology. So it'll level out. I'm optimistic.
Jason, did you also have
Oh,
some?
oh yeah. I just wanted to add that job loss is probably more likely happen to it. I think AI is most likely to reduce roles related to that are routine, repeatable, um, some entry level tasks that rely on execution rather than judgment. However, on the other hand, job will be growing and evolving, including like decision making, judgment, designing, interpretation, and applying the AI output. And also, some of the existing job will be shifted. Um, some of the tasks will be automated, but the remaining tasks will be even more strategic, analytical, and human-centered. So that's the change I think we as an institution and also for the audience who will be or who consider in graduate programs, you will need to be aware of.
Thank you, guys. Well, we have, I want to be very aware of the time. We're a little over here. We do have one additional question if you guys feel like you have time to answer it. However, if not, we're okay to move forward.
I'm okay with the question.
Okay.
Actually, if it's the one I'm looking at here about analysts navigating information systems.
That is correct. Yeah.
Okay. So I'd like to tie that kind of into another one I think I may have accidentally knocked off the board there. It was about OpenClaw. OpenClaw is a private local run AI kind of model. And I think it ties into this because what we're seeing now, when you navigate management information systems, which is really where I started, what's going on today with it and the changes in it. Some of the biggest things are tie into cybersecurity and protecting consumer data and so forth. We hear about these massive data breaches and everything. And navigating that is really becoming a challenge because as an analyst, I need that data, right? But at the same time, now that we're storing all that data, we also need to be responsible for it. We need to safeguard it and protect it. And governance is becoming more of a thing. And I think just like we are seeing a burst in AI governance for cybersecurity, I think that's going to come over and couple into the AI world, where you're going to see more about AI governance. And that's why things like OpenClaw have really taken off. Because, when you are using these AI systems, you have to dump all this data into it. And in a lot of cases, that's in the cloud somewhere. And can you trust somebody with it? Well, in our case, like at a university, there's actually laws, the FERPA laws and so forth that govern where we can store and how we can store that information. So I can't dump student data into Google and ask them to summarize it because now it's in the wild. It incorporates it into everything. So the systems like OpenClaw allow you to bring that AI on premises and control the situation. And now it's localized storage, it's your company's assets, and you can put that data into them and work with it. So I think we're going to start to see more of that. We're going to see it develop that way. We've gone through the explosion where we needed the big cloud models and the data centers full of GPUs. And now we're going to start to get more efficient about it so that we can bring it back into a local data center. And then we'll have all of the maintenance, management, and governance things that go along with it. So you can look for that in future careers as well.
Thank you very much for taking the time to answer that question.
Sure.
That will wrap everything up here. I really appreciate everyone for joining us. I want to thank Appalachian State and all of our panelists here for being a part of this. Really appreciate all of the insights and taking time to answer the questions from our various participants here. Just once again, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you all for joining us. Take care and enjoy your morning, afternoon, evening. Goodbye, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.